Hello friends! With the upcoming Dune remake, Denis Villeneuve is assembling one of the most star-packed casts of the decade, maybe even the century. Will the roster of A-list talent be enough to bring people to the theaters though? This week on Heat Vision Breakdown, we ask the question, does having an all-star cast really translate to big screen success? I want to be in Dune. And you never even asked me. We're still far away from Dune's November 2020 release date, but that hasn't stopped the film from dominating the news on an almost daily basis, with casting stories continuing to pour in. Let me just try to name who we know so far. Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista, Javier Bardem, Stellan Skarsgård, Oscar Isaac, Zendaya, Charlotte Rampling, and David Malchechian. Das Malchian. Whew! I did all of that with no help from any list anywhere. You can have your phone back. Villeneuve is known for his ambitious, critic and fan-pleasing movies. Arrival earned a Best Pick nomination a few years back, and Blade Runner 2049 is one of the most acclaimed sci-fi movies of the past decade, but it was also a big financial disappointment, which nobody really ever talks about. Maybe you all should have spent more time buying tickets and less time making Reddit threads about it. Expectations are sky high for Dune, which of course is based on an acclaimed book that everyone claims to have read to seem smart, but only like a quarter of those people have actually read the book. I read it. The story takes place on a desert planet and centers on a teen boy with strange powers who is the galaxy's only hope. Sound familiar? Well, that's because George Lucas was influenced by Frank Herbert's book when he created Star Wars. Not sure where he got the blue milk from though. Hollywood has had mixed reactions when it comes to all-star casts in the past. Sometimes they are seen as gimmicks. I refer you to some of the final movies of the late and legendary filmmaker Gary Marshall, or other films like Ocean's 8 and the earlier Ocean's films. While other times films full of A-list stars are a chance for our greatest actors to dig into meaty roles together, like in Pulp Fiction or The Dark Knight. Take, for instance, Heat, a movie that finally got Al Pacino and Robert De Niro to square off and also managed to cram in peak Val Kilmer and not quite as peak Jon Voight. It balanced the screen time for many of its stars beautifully, giving us memorable moments of them together on screen, but also individual scenes for them to really show off their talents individually. That film was so good that Christopher Nolan geeks out about it in the same way that I geek out about his movies. Another great example is The Departed, Marty Scorsese, I call him Marty, remake of the Chinese film Infernal Affairs that brought every single A-list actor in the world at the time together to settle once and for all who does the best Boston accent. Leonardo DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson, Alec Baldwin, Matt Damon, Martin Sheen, Vera Farmiga, Anthony Anderson all worked together to make a film that ultimately won Best Picture. Heck, that movie was so great that Mark Wahlberg actually earned an Oscar nomination for playing an aggressive, smart-mouthed guy from Boston. Huge stretch, Mark. Okay, fine. He was great in that movie. I admit it. He was better in Boogie Nights though, and speaking of, that movie's cast was also stacked with Burt Reynolds, Philip Seymour Hoffman, William H. Macy, Julianne Moore, tons of people. However great Heat and The Departed are, those examples are years old.
The Departed came out 13 years ago.
What?
I know.
Going by box office and critical analyses over the past decade, the star-driven movie system of the past, 9 decades, is basically over. Audiences largely go to see movies now because they're based on familiar IP, promise new worlds and narratives, or have a connection to a larger fandom. Or because Dwayne Johnson is in it. I'll see anything with that guy. There's also a major difference between a film whose cast go on to become big stars and a film that's made with already very established actors. Films like Dazed and Confused and Black Hawk Down are filled with familiar faces now, but when they were released, a lot of those stars were still largely unknowns. Or in the case of Josh Hartnett, it's kind of gone the other direction.
Can you stop being mean to Josh?
Sorry, still bitter about not being cast in Dune. Recent examples of films with stellar casts that made little to no impact include 2011's Contagion, which stars Kate Winslet, Marion Cotillard, Matt Damon, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jude Law, and Bryan Cranston. 2013's The Counselor, starring Brad Pitt, Penelope Cruz, Javier Bardem, Michael Fassbender, and Cameron Diaz, or even last year's Bad Times at the El Royale with Chris Hemsworth, Jeff Bridges, Jon Hamm, Dakota Johnson, and Nick Offerman. Whew. Rarely do big budget movies succeed on the merit of their cast alone nowadays. While the 90s were a goldmine for films that had names like Tom Cruise, Will Smith, and Brad Pitt attached to them, those stars now struggle to open films that aren't already associated with the franchise. The Mission Impossible series may still be earning bank, but Cruise's star power couldn't turn Rock of Ages, Oblivion, or even the excellent Edge of Tomorrow into commercial hits. Success stories from the past decade do exist, of course. 2010's The Expendables and 2017's Murder on the Orient Express are prime examples. Sylvester Stallone gathered every aging muscle man on earth besides maybe Lou Ferrigno for his all-star throwback to big, dumb, explosion-y movies of the 80s and 90s, bringing in stars like Jason Statham, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Steve Austin, Terry Crews, and Mickey Rourke to basically smoke cigars, rub oil on their biceps, and blow up literally everything, plot be damned. It resulted in a new franchise that spawned 3 separate films. Murder on the Orient Express didn't have much expectation weighing on it, except from die-hard Agatha Christie fans like my Aunt Mabel. Hi. The cast consisted of a global collection of both box office stars and awards season staples of the stage and screen, including Johnny Depp, Penelope Cruz, Willem Dafoe, Judi Dench, Michelle Pfeiffer, and I guess Josh Gad. Sure. With so many names, Murder on the Orient Express seemed destined to go off the rails, but it didn't. Well, I mean, it did technically literally go off the tracks in the movie, but metaphorically, it stayed on them. Looking ahead, even before Dune opens, Quentin Tarantino has Once Upon a Time in Hollywood due out on July 26th this year. With Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, and Al Pacino on the call sheet, it feels like a throwback in the vein of The Departed, a film that is both commercial and prestige prospects. Presumably, the lesson here is that an all-star cast alone doesn't make a watchable movie. It's how each star is implemented that results in a memorable film. The novelty of seeing 5 to 10 very recognizable faces on screen isn't enough to put butts in seats. And I know you're gonna bring up Infinity War, but let me stop you right there, because no one was lining up to see the actors in that film. They were there to see the characters meet for the first time on the big screen. And if you disagree, then maybe you can come back to me when The Voyage of Dr. Dolittle, which stars Iron Man Robert Downey Jr. and Spider-Man Tom Holland, alongside freaking Voldemort Ralph Fiennes and Zorro Antonio Banderas and Selena Gomez and Octavia Spencer and Emma Thompson and the man himself John Cena makes over $1 billion at the box office. I'll be waiting. So what do you guys think? Are there any movies with all-star cast that you feel do work or don't work? Let us know in the comments right down there. Don't forget to subscribe and join us here every Friday morning for new episodes of Heat Vision Breakdown.
Oh my God, did you hear?
Why are you covered in sand?
I got cast in Dune.
What?
It's gonna be amazing.
Come on!